Hey everybody, KC here. So anybody who reads Morning Newsbeat knows that one of the things we have often come back to here on the site is the whole essence and nature of loyalty. You know, there are a lot of companies out there who for many years have had loyalty marketing programs. And one of the things that I think I've consistently argued here on Morning Newsbeat is too often those retailers are actually just trying to bribe the customer into coming back, that they are, giving them some rewards and just hoping that that'll be enough to bring them back. And I'm not sure it necessarily is. I've always thought one of the ways you need to think about loyalty marketing is proving your loyalty to the consumer as opposed to just kind of, handing out little rewards and hoping they came back to you. Anyway, common theme, talked about it for a long time on Morning Newsbeat. One of the companies that has been in this game for a long time is a company called TCC Global. And not that long ago, I wrote about them on Morning Newsbeat because they were working with Price Chopper in upstate New York on what I thought was a really innovative program. That one of the things that you could do in the program is actually earn points that could be converted into dollars that could be used to help kids pay off college debt. I thought that was one of the single best ideas I'd ever heard in terms of trying to develop an innovative and differentiated loyalty program. And so that program was announced some time ago, and I thought it would make sense to kind of come back to them. I'd love to talk a little bit about the notion of loyalty, what that means, how it has evolved, how it continues to change, what retailers need to do to be innovative, and maybe get some specific metrics on how things have worked with the college tuition program. So basically, I invited to join me in a Zoom conversation Sean Weiss, who is the director of loyalty marketing and analytics at Price Chopper, and Dan Dmochowski, who is the president North America for TCC Global. Just finished a Zoom conversation with them. I thought it was really, really interesting. Got at a lot of the issues that I think retailers need to think about, and I hope you find our conversation to be illuminating. Enjoy. So Sean, Dan, welcome to Morning Newsbeat. Thanks for doing this.
Hi, Kevin. Good to see you.
So the first place I want to kind of start about is focusing on just the notion of loyalty, right? I mean, I've been writing about loyalty in some form or another for 30 plus years, I think. And I'm curious what you guys think about how the nature of loyalty how has that been redefined? How has it evolved over the past, 20 or 30 years? Sean, you start.
Sure. For me, it's certainly a combination of both technology and consumer expectation changing over time. And that expectation is really being set by every other interaction our consumers have with retailers, whether that's online or in store. It's not just with us. So on the technology side, consumers' footprint is larger than ever, right? All the touch points is a dream for marketers, but it's learning how to hone that and how to leverage that that really makes a successful combination. And that's key to someone like a regional grocer like Price Chopper and Market 32 is leveraging that data so we can have a leg up on our competition.
When you say it's some of the tone is set by other retailers, does that mean that whether it's something that Amazon happens to be doing or Home Depot or whoever it happens to be, that they're setting expectations that you have to meet?
Absolutely right. And not necessarily meet, because we're obviously not as large as Amazon.
Right.
But if you think about ordering something online at Amazon, how simple, how easy the interface is, how quickly it arrives at your door, that's today's consumer expectation. And as a retailer, you have to be in that game. You always have to be paying attention to what other people are setting as your customer's expectation.
Yeah, it's funny, and it's not about loyalty, but I've always thought that's one of the things I've always thought about things like the Amazon ghost stores, right? Most people are not going to be able to do it because it's going to be so expensive, at least in the short term. But they're going to set an expectation for the consumers are going to say, well, why do I want to wait online? And that's something that other retailers are going to have to deal with. So, Dan, you've been in the loyalty game for a long time.
Yeah.
What's your view on how it's evolved and changed over the years?
Yeah, I think I would concur with Sean that it's technology and expectations have changed. things have really changed in the last 2 years in terms of technology and how we use it and what our expectations are. But if you go back 15 years, there was no Twitter 15 years ago. Facebook was just leaving the Harvard campus and the iPhone wasn't yet released. So in those 15 years, we've had a tremendous amount of change. So there is no reason to think that a loyalty program in grocery stores today should look and feel like it did 15 years ago. Our expectations are just completely changed.
One of my perceptions would be that it used to be that loyalty or loyalty marketing was largely transactional, in the sense that, boy, we just need people to come in, a little bit more often and spend just a little bit more money. And it seems to me now that the more effective programs are maybe a little less transactional and more relational or more relationship focused. Is that a fair observation?
Yeah, Dan, you see me nodding my head.
Yeah.
Especially in grocery, loyalty marketing has historically been entirely transactional. You would sign up for a card, sometimes pay a club membership. You come in, you make a transaction, you get rewarded with a discount. And oftentimes that's what it was. That naturally progressed all that data that those transactions created, and that technology, marketing technology platforms I mentioned earlier, that naturally progressed to retailers being able to target and personalize offers. So to me, that was the next stage of loyalty, where a consumer would get either messaging, recipes, offers targeted to them. And now we see it, and what we're trying to do at Price Chopper and Market 32 is even build further than that and create this emotional connection to our brand, something that for which our consumers strive.
Yeah. For me, I always felt that one of the things about traditional loyalty programs is that they seem to endeavor to make the consumer loyal to the retailer. And Dan, I've always thought that somehow had it wrong, that what a really good loyalty program actually demonstrates the retailer's loyalty to the consumer.
Yeah, and I think as Sean describes what he's built here at Price Chopper, you'll really see it, Kevin, because going back to the transactional nature of previous or some current grocery programs, but certainly historically, the cash back option is the epitome of transactional loyalty. Right. You spend money in a grocery store, you earn points for doing so, and then you redeem those points for money back in a grocery store. That's transactional. Customers love that. Many of them need it to help make ends meet. But does it really evoke and engender the loyalty that you're looking for? So I think what we've tried to do here is what you're saying, create rewards and a program that evokes that loyalty and demonstrates the loyalty or commitment of the retailer to the consumer. Yeah. We do that through physical rewards that you might use in your home for years. We do it through experiential rewards that might create memories for a lifetime, but that's what gets the emotions going.
Sure. I mean, it's so important, right? There used to be, it doesn't happen as much anymore because we all have it on our smartphones, but it used to be you see people's key rings, right? And they would have 14 different loyalty card tabs on their key ring. So they really weren't loyal to anybody. They just used whichever one they happened to be at. So Sean, talk a little bit about what the shift that you guys have been making and where you were and now where you are now.
Our loyalty strategy always starts with the consumer, right? Yeah, as a retailer, you have to listen to the consumer, the feedback that they're giving you, either through their data, their purchase history, or directly through research, which our team does a lot of. And remember, this consumer is rapidly evolving, as we mentioned earlier. So our strategy in loyalty is really to offer something that aligns with our brand, things like supporting the community. It's one of the #1 reasons we have as a brand for being is local and community support, and things that meet the needs and desires of our customers. Then from a strategic level, you take that down tactically, and you have to do a lot more research, a lot of design, a lot of planning, and ultimately look for partnerships like we did with Dan and TCC Global.
Yeah, I remember the thing that just totally turned me on, and I did a piece about it when you first instituted it, I did it on Morning Newsbeat, was the whole notion of being able to use your rewards to help kids pay off college debt, which to me was the single best loyalty idea I've ever heard. Talk a little bit about the genesis of that.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Dan actually sets the stage very well. Dan, if you want to set the stage for that one.
Yeah, I'll give you a little context for it. You may know all these facts, but I'll share them anyway. The student loan issue in the United States is a massive problem and challenge. There are 43 million Americans that hold student debt. The total outstanding debt is about $1.6 trillion. Each debtor owes over $30,000, and it's holding them back from making life decisions like marriage and home ownership, right? So we saw that as a big social issue, and how could we help to address that issue for people? And so we presented this to Sean and the team, and they said, yeah, if we could take those Price Chopper Advantage points and convert them into a currency to help that consumer pay down the debt that they have, or equally as importantly, pay down the debt of a loved one. So it's not only your own borrowing, but that of your son, daughter, nephew, niece, whatever it might be. And so that's really what you referred to earlier, Kevin, right? It's pulling at the heartstrings, it's developing a relationship, and it's understanding what's important to your customers.
Yeah, and I think that last part you described is so important, right? Because it just seems to me that if I had a kid with student debt, I would, not only would I go to your store to help him pay him or her pay that down, but I would go to my entire family and say, could you just shop at that store, please? Because, and unless you have another use for the points, which I understand, but if you can use that to help my kid pay off a college loan, I would do that in a second. And if somebody came to me, and whether it was a relative or a neighbor, and said, listen, this is what we're trying to do, I would totally do that. And it's such a great way of, I mean, it was funny. I think, Sean, you talked a little bit about serving the community. This is actually a way to build community.
Absolutely. And it creates that stickiness that you're really looking for a marketer, right? It engenders them in your brand. They continue to shop your store. And we're offering them a platform now where they can turn those rewards into real savings that, as you mentioned, help, friends, family, community, loved ones.
From a nuts and bolts perspective, not being a retailer, never having been a retailer, how does it work? When at Price Chopper, you decided you wanted to start to make this shift and you needed to do something, more sophisticated, more nuanced, more effective. Do you say to yourself, okay, these are the 5 things we want to do, and then you look for a vendor who can do those 4 or 5 things? Or do you say, we knew we have to be better, let's talk to different people and figure out what makes sense? I mean, how does it, are you building, or how do you start with the chicken, or do you start with the egg?
For us at Price Chopper Market 32, it's a little bit of both, right? So we had our own vision after some internal think tank work and some retailer share groups. And again, consumer research, that's a constant underpinning of this whole conversation. And we knew that at Price Chopper, we have hardworking, dedicated teammates that do a great job in each of their disciplines. But to stay on top of this very specific discipline of loyalty marketing, we knew we had to reach out and look for some experts. And during that search, we were looking for people that could have the same vision as us, right? It had to align with where we see this going in the future, and also had platform experience, could bring content, things like student loans, and also marketing campaign experience. And that's really how we set out to search a partnership.
Is that, Dan, is that typical of most retailers, that it's a combination of the two, or does it work in all those different ways?
Yeah, I remember, Kevin, specifically the first meeting I had with Sean in Schenectady, which is just a couple of months after I joined TCC almost 2 years ago. And I explained my view of grocery and loyalty marketing and what I saw as a future of physical, digital, and experiential rewards. And Sean smiled and said, sounds like you've been in our meetings, because we're thinking exactly the same way. So when you have that type of meeting, you know that you've met a kindred spirit, and that you're on the same vision, and now it's up to execution. So it was really nice the way it happened here. And I think that really kind of set the stage for the relationship we've built with Price Chopper over the last couple of years.
Is that typical? Are there?
No, it's not typical, Kevin. What we generally do with retailers, like many other vendor and service companies, we take a consultative approach, right? We understand the retailer, do the research, try to ask them what their wants and needs are, and then fit our solution sets to them. And sometimes that solution set is what we're talking about with Price Chopper. Other times it may be, let's say, a fixed length loyalty rewards program that suits their needs. So It's generally an exploratory process of trying to understand what the retailer needs and how we can suit their needs.
Yeah. I would imagine there are retailers that also at different ends of the spectrum, right? Depending on what the retailer's value proposition is and who their customer base is and where they are geographically. It would not necessarily, I mean, you've got to sort of tailor programs, right? I mean, if a retailer is in a market where only 5% of kids, let's say, go to college, I'm making that number up. I don't know if there is even such a market. Suddenly doing college paying off college loans is going to obviously be less relevant than it would be elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely right. And retailers have different levels of loyalty rewards development. So some have a loyalty points program always on, like Price Chopper did. Others don't do that. And so for those who don't, we have a different types of solution. And so it's really about understanding the retailer's needs, where they are demographically, what their objectives are, and then trying to fit the solutions that a company like ours has to what the retailer needs.
Yeah. I'm curious, and Dan, I'm about to throw a fastball right down the center of the plate for you. I think, and which will allow you actually to make a slight commercial pitch.
Oh boy.
But it occurs to me as you say that. So your company is, I mean, I've known the continuity company TCC for a long time, right? I've known you guys, and I wonder if, I mean, and it's always been defined as a company that did continuities. Is this represent a kind of, not a shift in terms of, I don't know if it's priorities or positioning, but because you're talking about, you haven't used the word continuity. You've talked about loyalty, which is different, I think, than it used to be. And is that for your company, is that an important sort of slight repositioning, still doing the same, having the same kind of focus, but telling people it's really about loyalty. It's not about continuities.
Yeah, it's really it's about loyalty, and this is not a pivot or a deviation. This is an evolution of what we've done at TCC for these 30 years.
Right.
It has always been at TCC, driving short-term sales and building long-term relationships, emotional connection between the retailer and the consumer. But as time goes on and technology changes, different markets will require different solutions. And so in this particular case, at Price Chopper's situation, they needed this solution. Other retailers have other needs, and we address those in different ways. But strategically, it's the same. It's creating a loyalty reward scheme that encourages customers to shop at one retailer versus the other. And then the implementation or tactics of that can change based on the needs of the situation.
Sean, talk a little bit. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you could pose that same question to us: is did we find ourselves at not necessarily a pivot point, but a repositioning? And certainly we did. Our Advantage card existed for 30 years, and in 2006 we launched a Fuel Advantage program, which was a gas discount program, and it was wildly successful, but unfortunately also easily repeatable. So a lot of our competition had come out with the same thing, especially regional grocers like us. And over time, doing the consumer research and analytics that we do, we found we needed something new. While doing so, we make sure that we protect what we call our fuel loyalists, right? You don't want to lose those people who have become core to your program, but you have to make this pie bigger. We can no longer just fight for a share of a shrinking pie. So in 2019, we launched our points-based program. We call it Advantage Rewards, and that's where a consumer earns points, and those points could be redeemed for a fuel discount or a food discount in store. And then quickly on the heels of that, we tested a physical product with TCC Global in our stores. That was 2020. We found there's an appetite out there for consumers to use their points even beyond food and fuel. And that really was the hypothesis. And that was the meeting we had with Dan, where we said, we're on to something here. Let's go build this platform now and have these digital rewards that takes this experience outside our four walls and really puts it where anyone is. As long as you're connected to the internet, you can engage with Price Chopper Advantage Rewards now.
Yeah. Talk about some of the other rewards. We talked a little bit about the college thing, but talk about what some of the other, you've talked both, I think, use the word experiential. So talk about what some of those things are.
Yeah, and this is really the exciting part here. And as I said, people now that on a mobile phone, you can engage with these rewards wherever you are. We're calling it the Advantage Rewards digital platform. And it's mobile first, mobile optimized. It also works anywhere you're connected to the internet. We launched it with what we call 4 new ways to redeem rewards. This is in addition to food and fuel and some of those part-time physical rewards we would pulse in and out of the store. The first way was to support local charities. Price Chopper, Market 32, one of our #1 reasons for being is to support local communities and charities. So we wanted to make sure we had that option. The next is to support local schools. We have a long time history of supporting our local schools. Our partnership with Universal Promotions has helped us do that. And the third was for consumers to enter sweepstakes for a chance to win. And these prizes that we're featuring are really great things like free groceries for a year, free grass for a year, or even experiential things like a brewery tour from a local brewer, something I personally wish I could have entered, but nonetheless, I couldn't. And then most uniquely,
they'll probably give you a tour anyway. I'm guessing.
I could call in a favor. But most uniquely, it's this idea of paying down student debt, right? So you had charities, you had the schools, you had chances to win prizes, to dream big. And now you have this real tangible way to help a home do their budgeting and save on their student loan payments.
Yeah. Was there any resistance when you started to make these shifts, or is this been, either internally or even from customers? I can't imagine there was, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, thankfully, no. We're advantageous in that we could pilot this to our teammates first.
Right.
So we took a small focus group, if you will, of main office teammates who piloted the program first, both for reaction to the types of rewards we were offering, and then the customer experience and the digital platform itself. Then we rolled out to even more teammates first, and then we eventually launched it to consumers, learning and tweaking along the way. And we're certainly not done. We're always focusing on building that digital footprint across all of our assets to make sure it's a seamless journey for the customer.
So are the results to this point, are they quantifiable? And so 2 questions. Are the results quantifiable? And B, do you change what you measure? How do you measure engagement?
Sure. Yeah. So to answer the first part, and Dan and I will probably answer this together, but to answer the first part, yes, it's quantifiable. We can't share too much, but what I can say is we know that those who are engaged and have signed up for this loyalty rewards platform, they spend 2 times more than our average customer, and they're part of our most desirable consumer segment. We do segmentation, and we make sure we know that these customers are part of that desirable segment. And a little tidbit we can share is this group, if you take their spending so far since we've launched the platform, it's up double digits versus last year. And that's against some peak pandemic spending of last year when grocery was doing really well in the face of restaurants and bars being closed. So we do know that it's been successful in that respect. And Dan has some highlights to share from a standpoint of those on the platform and the things they're choosing to redeem on.
Yeah, so on the platform, as we said, the highest redemption category is student loans. And it's split evenly, almost evenly between your own student loan and that of a loved one. And it has the highest repeat purchase rate that people come back. So that's the stickiness that Sean alluded to. The charities are surprisingly high transaction amount. So when people donate to a charity or a school, they go for a higher dollar amount. And I should note, though, that the #1 redeemed category is actually the physical products in store. So from time to time, we'll put for 8 to 12 weeks in the store some physical items that are available for points, as Sean had mentioned in the pilot we did. And as we've done that, those are the #1 redeemed category of points outside of the traditional food and fuel rewards.
It's amazing. If your transaction numbers are up double digits over last year in terms of the people who are in the program, that's amazing. Because every time I see numbers now from anybody, everybody loves to use what they call a 2-year stack, right? Because they know they look better comparing themselves to 2019 to 2020. So if you can compare yourself positively to 2020 to that extent, that's sort of extraordinary. I want to go back.
Kevin, could I interject something? I want to see if Kevin is willing to share some of that survey data. Do you remember, Sean, that are you in a position to share some of the qualitative research?
Yeah, it's kind of this. Thank you, Dan. It's the second part of Kevin's question is how have we measured engagement ongoing, and has that changed over the years? One of our primary measures of engagement certainly would be transactional, right? It's retention. It's, are these people spending with us? Have we kept them over time? But another qualitative angle is we have an ongoing brand health tracking survey where we ask customers, it's an online survey, we're asking customers to rate ourselves and our competitors on what we call brand factors. And loyalty rewards is one of our brand factors. And in our Q1 survey, which just completed a little while ago, it's the highest level it's ever been. So we know we're doing something right in the loyalty space. Always been strong for us, but it's even continuing to grow.
Yeah. So finally, I want to let you guys go. You've been very generous with your time. So when you look at expanding this out and you're trying to come up with either new rewards or whatever it happens to be, what the next iteration is it, what are you looking for? I mean, what's it, when you sort of start that search process or that thinking process, what are you looking for? How do you identify the thing that you think is going to really work well?
Yeah, well, launching this was certainly a major accomplishment, but if you could tell throughout the conversation, we don't sit still for long. So we've already actually added 2 new additional ways to redeem on top of what we spoke about today. So on the platform today, you can find a magazine subscription option, and you can find a ship to home option where you use your points and a exclusive kitchen knife is shipped directly to your home. As we look for future opportunities, it's all about customer choice. Again, Price Chopper and Market 32, we're trying to meet the consumer where they are. So we'd be looking for partners, whether that's from our CPG base or from solution providers that have digital experiential ideas and want to test them in the grocery vertical. And that's important to us is to go outside the 4 walls of grocery, right? We're always keeping an eye on banking, financial institutions and their reward programs because they have a lot of options and a lot of choice. And it's something we're trying to emulate.
Dan, is it important to constantly be adding new stuff all the time to kind of keep it alive?
I think content is king and rewards matter. And to get rewards that are aspirational, the rewards that are high perceived value are really important. And so we're looking for partners to do that and help us with that. So we'll put out this call, Sean and I will, that if there are content providers or technology providers that feel that they would like distribution through the grocery industry, we're open-minded and we welcome that. And we've created the platform, Kevin, in such a way with a modular architecture that we can add new content very easily. So we have the connection to the grocery chains. We then have an unlimited number of connections or modules to content providers. And so you can plug in very quickly and easily, which allows us to test and iterate. So we believe in content, and we think that it's really key. The rewards are everything for us.
Yeah. Well, listen, this has been really, really interesting. And as I think I started out by saying the whole notion of loyalty and how you reward it and how you engender it and how you show it to consumers has been something I think I've been writing about almost as long as I've been writing about the industry. So I appreciate you guys coming on and talking about that. Sean, I just want to, before we go, I do want to say that because anybody who reads Morning Newsbeat on a regular basis knows I'm a Jimmy Buffett fan. I want you to know I do see that Buffett surfboard behind you there. That's totally cool.
Yeah, a little product placement there. I figured you would appreciate that.
Anyway, listen, guys, thank you very much. Oh, Dan, real quick, if they want to find out more, how do they find out more about you and TCC?
Yeah, the TCC's website, www.tccglobal.com. And that'll get you the information and background. And then I can be reached on LinkedIn, of course.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.